It's
Yeah,
too
yeah.
old.
Now we're good. Now we're live from New York. Go ahead. I got New York in 3 seconds. Yes, baby. Go
Yes,
ahead, Paul.
baby. It's two old farts. Let the bullshit continue. How's that? Is that good? That's
That
funny.
was beauty. If it's not,
Thank
that's
you.
what we're going with. I
Thank
love
you.
it.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
well, at least we got the New York City bullshit in first of all.
This
my
is the
God,
show
thank
that
God.
promises you nothing, and we deliver nothing.
And we
Okay,
keep
so-
that promise 100%, and we're very happy
Absolutely.
with it. So today we were
Absolutely.
supposed to have Kimchi Chick with us, but
Right.
Kimchi Chick is actually making kimchi. So we should probably call her and bust her chops about that later. But anyway,
Right.
she's making kimchi, and she's going to vote today because today is the 8th of November, even though the show will end on the air on the 24th of November.
Yeah.
But she's
can't-
voting, and she takes it very serious, being Korean, from the north. And she also is making kimchi. So we're going to have to ask her one day if we can actually watch her make kimchi so people can see that, because that could be
Remind me what
Does she have-
Kim is again. Oh, sorry.
Does she have to vote? Does she have to vote and make kimchi?
to make
at the
kimchi.
same time?
I think she makes kimchi and vote at the same time. It's
Okay.
very. I hear it's a wonderful process. I'm gonna one day want to watch that. But we
Yeah.
are gonna ask her to do kimchi with us one day, and one day
Okay.
she's hopefully gonna come on the show so you and her and Raul could talk about K-pop, because he now
K-pop.
is a maven when it comes to K-pop. So we're gonna talk about that. But for this show, since it's
Yes.
voting day here in America,
Yes.
let us talk about the end of democracy. Whether you want to talk about the U.S. end of democracy, we had a good 243-year run. You want to talk about Mussolini being elected, Hitler being elected, Aragon being elected, or whoever the new dictator is going to be in 2024, if it's a Republican, should be interesting. And then I think they said there's 143 people running either for Congress or for Congress that believe that Biden didn't win the election, and it was all fixed. So we
Right.
have that to contend with if they get into Congress. I'm not sure what's going on in the Senate anymore. So basically, I think it was a good 243-year run.
But I think, Steve, what's interesting, and I obviously have bias, and I try not to be, because I know it's difficult not to have bias, but it's quite fascinating if you can step out of the park and watch the party going on, because it's really quite funny if you're not in the park, if you know what I mean.
Right.
What is interesting is people.
We lost David.
Oh,
Something
okay.
we said.
He's out of the park. He didn't want to be in the park. What can I say?
Guess.
What is interesting is a lot of people are saying what you're saying, the end of democracy. It's interesting because I thought, all right, let me just look at this objectively and see why people are saying that. And I've watched a bunch of clips with some of the people running who've said things like they'll accept the results
if they win,
as long as they win.
That's right.
Now, initially, I thought that's a bit of a joke. I mean, we would say something, oh, Steve, as long as I win, it's all good.
Sure.
But it seems like there's an undercurrent of seriousness about that.
No, they're very serious. There was the lady who's running for governor of Arizona said, if she wins, she'll accept it. If she doesn't win, then she won't. She's not that she won't accept it, but then it was fixed. And so there's this documentary out that they've torn apart that says it's all bullshit. And they literally were saying that the voting machines aren't tied to the internet. They're not tied to this. They're not tied to that. Like, it's literally, you click it, it's done. And then they're trying to say there's voter. So at the end of the day, they're all saying everything's so if you're a Republican and you win, then the voting was 100% correct. But if you're a Democrat and win, apparently then it's all lies. So really, at this point in America's history, we are becoming Mussolini, Hitler, or Germany, if you will. So we're becoming all these. There he is. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. We're becoming all these. We're talking about Mussolini and Hitler. We're becoming no better than what Italy and Germany was in the late 30s, early 40s. It's like we're going to elect an autocrat, and he's never going to leave. And the Republican, now that there's a bunch of Secretary of States, the individual states, we have 50 of them. And they're saying, there's a bunch of them that are saying, oh, they have to certify the election and they don't agree. And I'm like, oh my God, it's literally like it's a slow moving coup. And it's very interesting.
Isn't the key? Here's what I know this sounds obvious, and I'm sure someone's thought of this and they've said this, and someone's going to say we've done it or we can't do it. I'm not sure. But the key is, before you have the election, The adults get into the room and they say, right, these are the rules.
Wait, I have to interrupt you for 1 second.
We can't have an election until we all agree as to how that election is going to be run.
You don't have you said adults. We don't have adults. Stop. All these people that are running are 14-year-old children.
Worked. But Steve,
not anymore.
I mean, Dave will back me up with this. I mean, I voted in
back
the
him up, Dave.
Thank you.
I'm so backed up. You won't believe it.
Well, hey now, if you go down to Key West, David, they have a cure for that. 4 guys get on one bar stool, they turn it upside down. There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Now I wanted to say, I voted in 2 different countries, and I've watched a couple of. I've seen some strange voting things, like some African countries. They literally vote with beads and that sort of thing. Now I know the US. What people don't realize, what I've discovered, is it's in the name, the United States. There really are 50 different countries. Right. There's 50 different sets of, they're like little 50 different governments. And that's good. And it's also bad, because there seems to be a vast range of approaches to voting. Could that maybe be part of the problem, Steve? I put it to you.
I thank you very little. I don't know if it's part of the problem. I know that there's a bill in the Senate and a bill in the House that are trying to make it a little more tighter, and even Mitch McConnell has agreed that they need this. I think
is that not the fundamental problem? There's too many bills.
No. Or it could be William.
I mean,
bills or Williams.
Like I say, I was like, that's always an issue.
Well, no, this bill is actually a good bill. These 2 bills that are in the House and the Senate they're trying to make it that if certain things happen,
this is Mitch McConnell here, Stephen. This is Mitch McConnell here. I don't believe there are too many bills. I have spoken to the president, and I think what you're saying here is a lot of bullshit. Personally, I think
you look like a turtle, Mitch. You look like a turtle, and dear. And as we would say where I come from in New York, hey Mitch, shut the fuck up.
Hey, what I can't kind of get my head around,
sure,
right, is this. I think it's in Georgia.
The country or the state?
The state of Georgia.
Okay, just sure.
Or the hell of a state in Georgia, depending how you look at it.
Arnold Schwarzenegger should be president. I'm just saying.
No, but they've got. I keep seeing this thing right about this guy who used to be a football player.
Yeah, that's Herschel Walker.
Oh, Herschel Walker.
And the one who has every girl has an abortion.
He's fantastic.
I love this guy.
And I'm sitting here watching this stuff, like from a trillion miles away here in Holland, where everything is literally flat, and including my jokes, including my jokes,
and the
allegedly.
That's because they all have their fingers in dikes. Go ahead.
That's right. But so I hear all this stuff, right? So you always have to take it with like 150 kilos of salt.
Or cocaine.
Yeah. Well, anything that's white and powdery.
There you go.
But so like this guy was supposed to have been a secret agent or something.
No. Okay. So here's the Herschel. He said he was an FBI agent.
FBI. Okay.
That's not true.
Wow.
And
he had a resume. You can't believe this guy.
He had this like university degree. He went to the same university as I went to, it would seem. Which was the University of Bullshit and whatever.
Yeah.
It's a good school if you get into it.
Yeah. It's a sticky place to be. And so, but I'm thinking
sticky place right here.
But I'm thinking to myself, if everybody's sort of talking about this, I heard this wonderful quote from this woman. She was a Democratic lady out yesterday, knocking on people's doors and saying, "Hey, are you going to vote?" And then they asked her, "What do you think of this guy?" And she said, "Well, I think he was a good football player." And a wonderful quote. She said, "But I think he should stay in his own lane."
Yeah.
And I thought, well, if you know about this stuff and other people know about this stuff, why is it that nobody sort of are questioning this. You know,
They are. They
Why
are.
is Herschel Walker running? Oh,
Well, let's do it this
well,
way.
he's
So
probably running
Bill,
because he's probably got a shitload of money, or
no,
somebody's
he's running
or
because
some.
people are backing him because he's a Republican,
yeah,
and he goes, "I don't believe in abortion." Meanwhile, he's had like
yeah.
15 girls have had abortions that he's paid for. So
He doesn't
there's a
believe
little
in your
hypocrisy.
abortion for
Yeah,
you.
right,
Him,
right.
no
Abortion for
problem.
you, not for me.
Not for
Yeah,
you.
but
So
that was
Me,
yeah,
no
but
problem.
there's a
his
lot of
his argument was that
Yeah.
that was yesterday and today. It's like so
Right.
yesterday I abortions were okay, but today I've changed my standpoint. They're not.
Well, here's the really cool thing. And in 1939, when they did the night of the night of the thousand knives, right?
Yeah.
That was yesterday, and today we're just killing the Jews. So I'm sorry, I have a problem. The
Yeah,
problem with
well,
America, and I'm an American, right? Born and raised, New York City, right? So I know that most of these people don't think New York's part of America, but it is. So
Oh,
here's the
yeah.
issue. If you don't read a history book, if you don't have an open mind, and all you really want to be is basically a supremacist or a dictator, then basically I look at the Republican Party, and I mean this in the nicest possible way I can mean. It's the new Nazi party. They're not after Jews. They're not after this. They just want, they have to be right and they have to win. So when you have people that are on the Republican side saying, if I don't win this election, it's fixed. Okay, well, the Democrats, they're too stupid to do. The Democrats turn around, well, no, if we don't win, it's fixed. So what's happening is, to your point that you made very early in the show about the adults getting in the room, we have no adults. It's the inmates are running the insane asylum, and we've got 200. And so I voted. Everyone voted. You know, we know Natasha, Miss Wild, she voted because she did a show with us last week. After she voted, we know Kimchi Chick's voting today. All these people are voting. That's awesome. However, if I'm going to have my elected officials tell me that if I don't vote for their party, you know, the Nazi party, then what's going to happen is that everything is negated. Then really, you're going to have, as someone said over the weekend, this is on a talk show, this is a cold brewing civil war. It's not going to be like it was in the 1800s, the North and the South. It's going to be a much different time, like
well,
the
it is.
attack on Pelosi's husband.
Well, no
It,
boundaries like there were.
it appears
in-
to be a
Yeah.
war already, doesn't it?
There is,
Because
and
there's a whole group in America who are waking
Mhm.
up to the fact that they are very, very shortly, 10, 15 years tops, that they're going to be an ethnic minority, and that ethnic minority will be white Americans,
no, that's not the issue is here.
white Christian Americans.
Yeah,
And it seems to be that the sort of like the devil's pact that the Christian the Christian parties had with Trump to get him in to push all these sort of very, very right wing Christian values forward seems to have been the start of this slippery slope downhill. Hey, but I can't vote. I'm on the other side of the pond. I get my news as it's presented to me. So yeah, what can I say?
Yeah, no, I think it's a very we're in a very dangerous time. This isn't one of our usual funny shows, right? But this is a very dangerous time for America. And I think the next 2 years, depending on what happens with the midterms now, what happens in 2024, I think it's going to be very interesting. I mean, I don't think we're going to. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just say something? Because it's interesting. I mean, I have my beliefs. Some people don't have beliefs. Fine, that's great. Whatever.
Right.
Whatever you believe, that is just great. If you believe the chickens made us, the chicken got it doesn't matter.
Wait, chickens made us? Wait, I want to talk.
Maybe. I don't know. It got to the other side, I'm not sure. But
We're talking about UFOs now.
this is what I've always
You didn't read those books, Steve, because they were banned in school. Remember?
This is what I've always thought, very naively, I admit, what I always thought, imagined the US was about. Yes, it's an imperfect thing. You've got all kinds of people from all places in the world, which is great. That is a good thing. I like the mixture of people. I couldn't give a shit if I'm the 2% or the 98%, doesn't matter. I live in a country where I'm in the minority. It doesn't matter. I don't see myself as a minority. I really hope that you say white Americans. I really hope that isn't why they're getting upset. Who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. In 10,000 years, we're all going to be Chocochino anyway, because we all banging each other and race or whatever it is will be gone. So
well, ironically, we all were when we started anyway.
Yeah, but the thing that I find interesting is this religious thing keeps coming up. They talk about the Christian vote. Now, I have a bit of a foot into that world. I've got to be careful what I say there, but I will say this. Let me just give a little. This is where I think the confusion comes. You've got a bunch of people running around. This is not a theology lesson, but you've got a bunch of people running around, not just the US, the world, that call themselves Christians,
right?
That judge all kinds of people. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. They wave the rule stick all the time. It's not peculiar to America. It's the entire planet. You see these people everywhere. I'm a Christian and you're wrong and you're wrong and you're wrong and I don't accept that. The problem is the manual, as I say, whether you believe this or not, that's not the point. I'm not converting anybody, not proselytizing. But if you have the manual, in the part where it got updated, it literally says don't judge. So I look at these people and I say, you're not really putting out what you're supposed to be putting out. So off the bat, your message is bullshit. Your message is bullshit. It's like saying I'm a basketball player and I'm 5'1". Well, you're not. You just can't be. So there's something wrong with the manual and what you're doing. They're not connecting. And I think maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, but I think there is so much bullshit in politics and media and so on. I don't think anybody knows what's true anymore.
Yep.
No one knows what they're voting for. No, what exactly is the difference between the Republicans and the Democrats? What exactly fundamentally is the difference?
The Republicans have more guns.
Not the brouhaha. On paper, 200 years ago, you had the Republicans freeing the slaves. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? And
nope,
now
you're correct. You're correct.
So what I'm saying is you had Abraham Lincoln, who was whatever he was. I never met him, but he did some good stuff.
He didn't like the play, though. Apparently, the play wasn't no good.
But the play was crap, exactly, and he was maybe I don't know. But the point is, in 150 or 200 years or whatever it is, it's like the Republican Party is now the party of they used to be the elites, and now they're of the downtrodden, and the Democrats are the elites. It just seems like the whole thing is bullshit. I don't know.
Well, the bullshit is the two part. I think I think the bullshit is the two-party system. I think we need it be more parties with people that may be smarter.
You can't do it.
And I remember when Arnold was running, or when Arnold was the governor of California, they go, "Oh my God, the governor should become president, but you're not U.S. born." Okay, I get that one. We're good with that. But we should have. I think maybe people. It's become this popularity contest, and that's the problem. Is we're not putting the best people there. We're putting who's the most Like I remember, I read an article a couple months ago that The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, said he's going to run for president. And I'm thinking, you seem like a really nice guy, and maybe you'd be a great president, but no. Like Reagan was a good president, sort of. Yeah. So, I mean, it's like but it's just, we've gotten to a point where it's a popularity contest. And I used to say this when I was a kid. I said, if you would just tell people what they want to hear, they'll vote for you. And Trump capitalized on that because he's a showman. Now the problem is, if Trump runs again, and just say it's not DeSantis, and Trump runs in 2024 and loses legitimately, now you're going to have another insurrection.
Well, he's going to arrive, but he's going to be at the inauguration, regardless.
I think he's going to. I think he's showing up whether he wins or doesn't. Yeah,
he'll be there. Can I just say this quickly before I forget this? There was a very wise man called George Washington, and this, Steve. When he left, everyone knows this. Who's read the history books? When he left office, he said, "You got to stay away from these parties. You've got to keep parties out of politics." And he could see it coming. He could see it beginning. And he said this. 200 years ago, whatever it was, he said, this is going to be a big problem in so many words. You've got to stay away from this. It's not about parties. It's not about tribes. You can't do this. This is what this country is founded on. We've literally abandoned that idea and formed this new amazing place. And now everyone is coalescing into these little tribes again. And he figured that out then in 17, whatever it was. And that's exactly what the problem is. I don't think either party is representative, and I'm going to be hideously arrogant and patronizing. I don't think either party represents anything to do with America completely at all. I don't think so. I think every American says, well, I like a little bit of this and I like a little bit of that, but there's a whole bit that's missing that isn't there. But what do I do if I go if I believe in abortion, then I can't vote Republican or whatever it is. But I like the way the Republicans do business, but the Democrats do this, and then there's healthcare, and then there's social issues, and then there isn't, for a country that's all about choice, it doesn't have choice for a political party.
We are a country about facade. So in America,
I'm interested to know, Steve. Sorry, but I mean, I also don't understand. It is proportional representation, is it not?
It is.
But so why is there then always this continuous just two parties? I mean, I've said before on one of the other things that one of the other shows we did, we've got, like, I think in Holland, I think there's 21 parties in the parliament, and that doesn't work either. Because there are just too many, so the vote gets watered and watered.
I want a parliament like the UK, so I can laugh every day when they argue here. I think that you're my good friend from here who just fucked a horse last night. I mean, these guys on PBS and C-SPAN, when they have anything to do with British Parliament, first of all, some of them that come from the far north, I can't understand what they're saying. All I got is my good friend, and then past that, it's a bunch of gibberish. The rest of it, though, is the funniest stuff on the planet, because it's like a comedy show, because the people in the background are either moaning, groaning. I want that here. But to answer your question, unfortunately, that's the way we've done it. And people don't want to change, and especially if you're in power, you don't want to change. My whole question
don't vote for Christmas,
right? And my whole question is this: I sit on a couple of boards for companies with generals, like the real ones, the Army, Air Force, Navy guys, right? My question to them always is, what's going to happen if, like, you guys didn't do anything on the 6th of January, and I think everybody knew it was coming. It's sort of like, the hurricane in Florida comes, you get like a week and a half notice, and people are like, I didn't know it was coming. Really? It's kind of like the British invaded the Falklands. It took them 45 days to get there, and they made a big thing about it. And when they attacked, they're like, really? You're attacking the Falklands? We didn't know. So it's kind of like this thing on the 6th. My question is, in 2025, on the whatever day they have to do it, in the inauguration, are the armed services going to because they swear and I know oaths are bullshit. Let's just be blunt about it, right? This isn't the 1600s anymore where you get knighted and all this crap, right? So people swear an oath, they're like, whatever. I'm sure a large percent of the military people take it seriously. There's another percent they could give a rat's ass. It's a paycheck. So my question is, what's the military going to do? I mean, are we going to end up? I don't think we'll end up with a military dictatorship, but like, how do you put order back then into the country? Are we going to have half the country go, okay, Donnie's our president, and the other half go, this guy's our president, whoever this person is, if the Democrats win? So that's going to be interesting. How is that going to work? Because once the rule of law goes, people are going to be like, pay taxes? Why would I pay my taxes? So really, then your government is the state you live in, because that's really who then is going to help you do what you need to do. And that's kind of where this is almost getting. It's like like you say, we're 50 individual countries. It's almost like, all right, you're all a country. Good luck, because you're not going to be a state. So it's not going to be the United States at that point. It's going to be a dictatorship, or it's going to be a resemblance of something in the 30s. And I don't think a lot of these people ever read a book. And if they did, I guess they like it. So
I want to say two things. One, I want to answer your question, Dave, and I know maybe we've touched on this and maybe you know this already, but fundamentally, when I was then in the US, people spoke about a third and a fourth and a fifth party. But the problem is, it's like growing a beard. The first couple of weeks, there's a lot of stubble and people want you to shave it off. It takes a while for that to get going. Now, the problem with getting another party in the US, anything takes money. It's all about money. It's a very money-oriented system. And you are fighting two very large, very powerful parties with a long, long legacy, and I don't know, 100 million supporters each, or whatever it is. So you're fighting that to bring you're the little David, and you've got two Goliaths, and that is what you're up against. And
that was a cute little pun, by the way. He's a little David. That's very cute. Now, David, is that true? Are you a little David?
Are you a little David? But unless
well, I've heard Little John before, but I'm not sure.
But unless you become a Goliath really quickly, you're
I've
out.
heard that a few times. Yeah.
And that's the problem. And that's
From a
why
midget.
that is why you have two parties, because they just two Goliaths. And
Well,
any other little chap comes in and they
look-
squash him. Or can I say one other thing? The danger, of course, also is that if you have two candidates that are similar, have similar support, and you think, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my party and I'm more aligned with this guy,
Right.
potentially split the vote and the other guy gets it. And that's why people are worried about.
Well, that happened with Ralph Nader. Ralph
Yeah,
Nader did that.
exactly.
Remember in the 70s or 80s when he ran, he split the party and it
So
gave
they've
it to
been
whoever.
burned.
Yeah,
So
and then I think Ross
people-
Perot did the independent. So we've
did the
had
same
tried
thing.
that. Yeah.
But the problem with that is, I think people, it's a romantic idea, but they don't really want to step into that pond, because unless the entire country steps into the pond at the same time, it's not going to work. And that's why I don't know how you fix it. The one other thing I quickly want to say is, I think part of the reason why you have why you have the problem you do is, you mentioned the British parliamentary system. What I love about it is it gets so incredibly heated, almost personal. All kinds of things happen, and then afterwards, most times, they share a beer. They can get on. They can debate and argue hideously, vociferously, with ladles of vitriol. But afterwards, it's done. It's finished. I don't feel like, maybe I'm wrong, but it feels to me like the American political system has become way too personal, and it's infected. And you have two tribes now, which is not helpful. I don't think your two sides are necessarily that different. They're both human beings. They both want similar things, but they believe that the other guy is the enemy now. Doesn't matter what he says, and no one is listening to each other. That's just what I see. I don't know.
I remember that. I read a thing about Tip O'Neill, and he and Reagan would drink scotch together and like get drunk together. And Clinton did that with people. They don't do that anymore. I don't know when it stopped. I guess it stopped after Clinton, but it used to be like, the Speaker of the House, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, and the President of the Republic, didn't matter. They would share like whether it was a scotch or a whiskey or a pint or whatever it was. Yeah. And they would meet and play cards and poker and smoke cigars. And now we've become like, if you don't like what I say, you can't be my friend. And it goes back to what you said at the very beginning of the show. There's no adult in the room anymore because their mommies all told them they were special when they came in 300th. So they're always right. And it's like, no, you little fuckwad, you're not. You're a piece of shit. And this is the way it goes. And a problem is that nobody wants to say that. Like, I always laugh when I watch these debates. I could never be I literally go, you're a fucking moron. Like, have you not read a history book? Seriously. Do you know what you're fucking saying and doing? And then then they all look at you like, oh, you hurt my feelings. I don't give a fuck about your feelings. I'd like our democracy to continue for another, I don't know, couple hundred years. Because if you look at all the democracies from the beginning of recorded time, they run anywhere from 200 to 300 years where they're a superpower in there or whatever, and then they crumble. So what, we're at 243, 244, right?
I've heard this.
So we're right there we're at the precipice. We're in the middle. So either we're going to crumble and die, or if we make it through this, we will be a democracy for quite a long time. If not, we had our course. It's a lot of fun. Now the question is, am I going to be the old USSR? Am I going to be China presently? Am I going to be, the list will go on. And then the question is, if we do have civil strife, who's going to save us? Who's going to save us? China. And that's who's going to roll through the streets here. And that's what people don't get.
There was a book about this, and I can't think of it. A chap wrote that exact thing. He spoke about how long the Roman Empire lasted for.
I read the book.
Are you familiar? Yeah. What can you remind me?
I read this book like 25 years ago, and that always stuck with me where he talked about that. And I was like, that's amazing.
This is the end. This could be cyclically, this could be the end of the American democracy. And I thought,
because he talked even about Britain as
wrong.
a superpower. Yeah,
I really hope he's wrong, because
I don't know about that.
Who fills that gap? Who fills that gap?
China would fill it.
Wow.
Two interesting points I think you touched upon earlier. One was that you like the adversarial aspect of British politics. Evidently, when it was the House of Commons was rebuilt, I think the early part of the 20th century, Churchill, there was an opportunity for it to be slightly larger. And Churchill said, no, leave it at the same size because we're nearer to everybody. So it'll make the debates more interesting and more heated. So that's well, I thought was rather interesting because that seems to be what people are fascinated about as regards British politics. A little bit of Dutch politics. Last weekend, there was going to be this impromptu demonstration about COVID and about the government, about everything. All these people who don't believe in anything at all, and the special guest of that was a gentleman called David Icke. And David Icke, I think, used to be a former journalist, and he was banned by the Dutch. Now you've got to go a long way down a road to get banned by the Dutch. But he got banned by the Dutch simply because he firmly believes that the royal family are flesh-eating lizards.
Oh, come on. Everybody knows that the royal family is a flesh-eating lizard. I've read that in many a book.
But there's also been a whole lot of interviews, a whole lot of stuff I think I saw one this week, something he did in the late 1990s. And he's talking then about, central control, ID, all sorts of things. And people just spoon that straight into the circumstances, what's happening today.
Let me play devil's advocate.
So what about people like David Icke? Because
but let me ask. I have a question though about David Icke.
Okay.
So and I mean this not to be funny. So
that'll make a change.
I know, right? There we go. This is going to go off on a whole tangent. So let's just say the royal family doesn't eat people. Maybe they are lizard people. Maybe they're not. So David Icke may have a different belief on who created us. Maybe he thinks we were created by UFOs, instead of the Big Bang, or instead of this, or instead of that. So, him saying that may not be far from the truth. We just don't know. We only have a perceived reality of what we think we know. Just a thought. I'm not saying that the royal family in Amsterdam, because I mean, when I was with children,
there's a whole consortium, the Illuminati, of course, we were all lizards.
I love the Illuminati. I'm a member. Yeah, I'm number 69, and I was 34.5 for a while, but then I got promoted, so I'm excited.
I just got my Illuminati app, Steve. Did you get yours? They're fantastic.
Yeah, I did. I got the ring and I got the whistle. It's very. We have a secret handshake.
It's ring. What ring? Where's my ring?
See, because you got to get the ladder.
You're sitting on it, Roald.
There you go. There you go. There's the Illuminati ring. Now you got it.
Yeah. But I was fascinated about this whole. I was fascinated really by the fact that the Dutch had banned him.
Right.
And then they started had this huge screen up in Amsterdam on Dam Square, and they started to show this recorded interview that they did with him, and then of course somebody went and pulled the plug out because hey, you're not allowed to hear what Mr. Icke says, and I thought that was very, very, very strange for the Dutch to do that.
Sorry, I find this fascinating because. Here we are, three guys. We look at a guy if David joined our conversation, he said, look, I firmly believe the royal family are lizard eating, whatever, flesh eating.
Yeah. We'd have that's a 3-hour show.
Now you would, fine. I don't care that he can say whatever the hell he likes, a bunch of guys. It just seems like when we inflate this to a population, people just get stupid about this crap.
Yeah.
Correct.
I don't have to agree. I don't care if he says that. Doesn't bother me. I'm not suddenly going to believe him. What is it with this thing where someone says something daft? I think all vaccines are crap. Okay, well then don't take one. That's fine.
Then die.
I think that the earth is made of the moon is made of cheese. Great, but I'm worried about stopping people from being able to say that. If he starts saying, however, we should all get to Buckingham Palace and start killing these lizard eating. That's different. Yeah. That's different. Yeah. But if he says,
this is a whole thing. I think you're talking about what's happening in the US, but it seems to be, and Roald, you touched on it as well. It seems to be very much a global thing because there's a lot of shit happening. The pandemics and climate change and whatever, and people are living in this, having the feeling every day that things are slipping away from them, that they have no control what's happening in their
Yeah.
lives. And so they're grabbing around in the darkness, and probably for some people, it'll be something which will enlighten them, and then they'll move on then to the next thing and get on with life. And there are other people who just see all these conspiracy theories who think, oh, well, yeah, that must be how it is then. Because you have it in the US as well. That's a QAnon or whatever it is.
Oh, the QAnon,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's
Oh, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Really.
Ike is an early manifestation of that.
Okay.
But
So yeah, and it's just people's just their fundamental desperation of wanting to find something stable in an
Are we just
unstable
believing?
world that they
Yeah.
live in.
can I just sound like a grumpy old man? Say, is it
You
because
don't have to. You always do.
You are a grumpy
Thank
old
you.
man.
Thank you very
That's
much.
sound like.
Thank you very much.
If not, you wouldn't be on the show, mate.
Is it just because we just don't have any real men anymore?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
for God's sake, if some guy says something, you
But
go,
we have a
"Well,
whole show as to how you debate what a
Well,
real man is.
I don't care if the guy says something. He can do it. He can stand there and do whatever he wants. As long
Yep.
as it doesn't impact me and he doesn't want me to join his crazy movement, he can do whatever the hell he wants. And my concern is if I look at the American situation now, I've always thought right there in the damn Constitution is free speech. It's fine. Say whatever you want. And getting back to what we said right in the beginning, you've got Carrie Lake and people like that saying, I will only accept it if I win. Let us say it. But then my thing is, aren't ordinary people going, well, obviously that's bullshit, so I'm not going to vote for that. That's the part.
No, apparently not. Because
if she says that, they go, oh, I'll vote for her now.
Apparently not, because when they do these exit polls and stuff, like these people are neck and neck with like people that actually have IQ points. You know what I mean? So the people that are like, if I don't win, it's not a real election. That's third grade stuff. It's like, that's what I'm saying. I would love to go on stage with her and go, listen, did your mommy tell you were special? You're a fucking moron. You're supposed to so are you guys want a civil war? It's almost like some of the people in the Republican Party want to have a civil war that's like the 1800s, where it's going to be guns and this and that. And I'm thinking, you realize once we do that, China, who's got a couple billion people, they're going to take a picnic. And you're not stopping a billion people from taking a picnic, because their military is just as good as ours. And if not, they've got, 10 times more people. You're screwed. So, get along. You don't have to like someone's politics. You don't have to like them. They're string.
You don't agree with anybody, Steve.
That's the point. That's the point I was making earlier on. There is a group of people in the US who can feel the fact that they become an ethnic minority in their country, in a white American country, and this is being fed to them as well. It is a fact.
Fox News.
Yeah,
way to go, Fox.
It is a fact that everybody, as Roald said, everybody will be some sort of tint in between and grey.
We all just that stupid, really.
Wait. You want to hear the best thing?
Yeah.
They want to take in. I want to say it's in Michigan. In Detroit, there are precincts, of course, that are all black. And what they said is that in the all black precincts, if they don't vote, if you will, the proper way, they're going to consider that their votes are either wrong or a fraud, and they want to throw out those precincts. So what's going to happen is there's a black minister that was on television. He was saying, if they do that, we have no voice. This is worse than jerry rigging the election. This is literally we're just not even going to count you. So what these Secretary of States who think things were not right are saying, well, if a county or a district doesn't vote the way we think it should have gone, we're just not going to count it. And I'm thinking, are you kidding? So basically that's the point, right? They're just going, no, there's fraud. We're not counting it. So in theory, if they did that back in 2020, Trump would have won. And that's everybody's point, is you can't have these people of power that are just stupid. And that's the problem. People that are going into politics today, I'm sure there's some really smart ones, but the ones that, unfortunately, that everybody sees are idiots. And maybe they like Mein Kampf. Maybe they enjoy the book. Like I said, I've read Mein Kampf. The first 400 pages is a great book. It talks how to build infrastructure. It talks how you build a country, road. Yeah. It's great. 451, it goes, then you kill all the Jews. That's where I had the problem with it. It's the last 300 pages. Yeah. And these people forgot to read the first 400 pages, and they're reading the last 300, but you can't do the last 300 unless you have an infrastructure. and you
But
have to have
Steve,
people.
You can't have someone saying elections. There is no opinion. I'm sorry.
I
There's no
understand that.
opinion.
Yeah.
You need a guy with a calculator. That's it. Done. Finished. Whether you want him to vote or not is what you want him to vote. In fact, I want everybody to vote. I mean, it's like so basic. You have no opinion. Elections should
But
there should be no opinion.
I agree with you
I cast my vote.
1,000%.
That's it. Done.
Yep.
Well,
The
I
way
have
vote is
I have an
nothing
opinion,
to do with anybody.
and you know,
And vice versa.
I can't do anything with it because I'm disenfranchised. I'm disenfranchised because I've lived outside of the UK for too long to vote, and I'm not Dutch, so I can't vote here. Well, I can vote. I used to be able to vote for the water company. What they did with the water is some sort of kingdom, the waterschap they
Why
call it here, and
why can't you vote in the UK, Dave? Why can't you vote in the
I've
UK?
no idea because I've lived. Oh yeah, I do because I lived outside of the UK for too long, and so therefore they take my voting rights away.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
That's
interesting.
interesting. Well, welcome
Which
to
is
our
a big-
democracy.
I'll say this.
Because
I'll
if
say
well,
this.
if I had
This third
able
world-
to
yeah.
do it, if I was able to do that along with all the other expats that live in
No,
Spain and Portugal, there would be no Brexit.
No, I know. I've heard. No, I'm not saying I have. I'm just posing the question because I do know that. I tell you what's interesting is this third world country that everybody goes woo woo. If I were to leave now and move back to the UK or move back to the US or whatever it is, I wouldn't lose that right. I can still vote here. There's no amount. If I immigrate, if I officially immigrate and renounce my citizenship here, I've got two citizenships and a work visa. I've got a US work visa. I'm a UK citizen, obviously, because I was born there, and I'm a South African citizen. Great. But unless I renounce my citizenship here, I can live up the rest of my days in the US or the UK, and I can still vote here.
Yeah.
How
Well, I can
about that?
vote. I can vote here if I have a Dutch passport.
No. What I'm saying is, if it would have, the similar situation would be you being there in the Netherlands and being still forever being able to vote in the UK as per normal.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't you be able to vote? This is what amazes me.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Are you a Dutch citizen?
No, I'm a UK
Are
passport
you a
holder.
British citizen?
Yes.
Well, bang. And
Yeah.
I don't know what the story is in the US, but I mean, I know folks here that vote in the US. Here.
Yeah, you go to the whatchamacallit, you go to the embassies
embassy
and
or
you
the
can
consulate.
vote. You can consulate and you can vote. Yeah, that's all the time.
Yeah.
There's a bloke that I work with. He's been here. I hope this is accurate, but he's been here at least 10 years, maybe more.
We got to make a phone
And he's
call.
a US citizen. Sure, he goes back and visits his family, but he lives here. He's married to a South African. He loves America. He loves South Africa, but he votes. He votes there.
Yeah. But he also
Why
has to
would you lose
send
your
his
right to vote?
he has to send his tax return back as well. Huh?
Yep, that's fine.
No,
You gotta pay
absolutely.
taxes. I have listen, paying taxes is a pleasure for what I get, which is freedom.
Yeah.
Where I can do pretty much what I want as long as I don't break the law.
Talking about paying taxes,
For the
Steve,
wrong
can
party.
you explain to me what the gig is with Disney in Florida? Do they have some sort of special status?
Oh, well, they used to. Okay, so Disney in Florida.
Here we go.
There we go.
What
So
have you
first
wanted
of all,
today?
If you're all sitting very comfortably, then
okay, so
Stephen will
Disney in
begin.
Florida. So when Walt was alive, we were very close back then. That anti-Semitic fuck. Anyway, when Walt was alive, he bought like 100,000 acres or more of swampland in the middle of nowhere called Kissimmee, Orlando, the whole thing, which is now
Florida.
still for basically all of Florida, right? So now you have Celebration, you have Disney, you have all this crap. Okay. What happened was they made a special deal with the state that said that they were their own like municipality, their own this, their own that. They were everything, their own tax haven. They did everything. And they paid whatever to the state. So last year or this year, when Disney was when Ron DeSantis was about, you can't tell people you're gay, you can't do this in school, and you can't do this and all this other happy horse shit. Disney, because most of the Disney employees are like, hello. So because of that, and they have a gay day for a gay pride day for the people and whatnot. And Disney and Florida went at it. So DeSantis says, I'm pulling your special tax status and your special this and your special that. The Florida law reads, they've got, I want to say about a billion or 2 billion in bonds out, which they pay without a problem because it's Disney and they have the celebration, which is you buy a home, you can live in Disney. It's a whole thing. So, basically he's like, we're going to be done with you. And so the Disney attorneys are like, oh, that's fine. But the way the law reads is that you have to pay this off, like before you can do that. So I don't know where it ended, but there's no talk of it anymore that they're getting rid of Disney's special. Yeah, because they might have, but it might have been very quiet because I remember in the Financial Times they were talking about it, and I was like, this is interesting. And I was in Florida at the time, and it was back and forth, back and forth. And I remember one of the Disney attorneys is like, okay, fine, pull it. And DeSantis is like, yay, I can do this. And you're like, by the way, though, you got to pay this $2 billion first. And there's a whole bunch of other things that the state has to do, I think, and any surrounding county before it. And I think people were kind of like, who the fuck cares? Like if you know what I mean? It's like, once again, it's like church and state. Stop playing. Like just govern. Like make rules to help you. Don't send. And the other thing, which is funny about DeSantis,
does that not strengthen your argument that you are many countries within a larger state?
That's true. Yeah. Well,
because if you look at Florida, then you've got this Disney principality,
which is a country unto itself.
Yeah, either fiscally or whatever, just sitting there doing its own thing, and it made its own rules up, and the people who were outside of it said, well,
and their rules are better. They have better water, better fire, better this. They have better everything in Disney. Disney is run like I apologize for saying this to all my Jewish and Landsman friends out there, a Nazi concentration camp. Like if you live in Celebration, this is what you do. You can't do this. You can't do that. This is the way it works. The nice thing is when you go sell your house or buy a house there, you know that there's a resale. If you want this, it's like a nice Puritan community. Hotels are in there. They own the park. They own they run it pristine. Their own fire, their own police, it's like unbelievable when you see how they do what they do. I give them a lot of credit for it, and
the
not
bus service is crazy.
The bus I will say that every service, their monorail, their bus. But I will tell you a funny story about Florida. Back in the 80s, I forgot the governor. I want to say it was Bob Graham, but I don't think it was. It was the one before him. I can see him in my mind. I just can't remember his name. What he said is that every company in Florida, no matter if you're IBM or whoever, no matter where you make money, we're going to tax you globally. He said this globally, we're going to tax you. So IBM at that point, I think, was the biggest company in Florida, and they took literally millions of square feet in Boca Raton, hundreds of thousand acres, huge. And IBM is like, so any business you do, we're going to tax you globally now, not just what you do here in Boca. So IBM literally within overnight, took a little longer, left Boca. Like, okay, bye-bye, done. And that law about 6 months later was rescinded, and they never came back. And they may be now, but back then, and all the buildings now are either office buildings, condos. But it was sort of like they were like, we're going to get all that. So they don't think, they just do. And they don't play the what if game, and they don't sit around and talk to a bunch of people and say, now, if we do this, what is going to be the fallout? They're just like, let's go do this. It sounds really great. It was really great. And you lost IBM, and people lost their jobs. And, it's like that's awesome.
Well done.
Yeah. Like, there's a brain fart for you. But that's my whole point about when we talk about history. And people, like, I know the shit they teach in school because my stepson tells me all the time what he's learning. And I'm like, what did you learn? So if you don't understand, first of all, what a democracy is, or our constitution compared to, say, communism or an authoritarian or any of it, you can't govern. Like, there's got to be a test. Even if you're going to be like the local councilman, you got to at least take a civics test, because the people that, become citizens, they have to take a civics test. And most of them understand the three branches of government here. I don't think the idiots that are in the Congress, the Senate, or even local government understand what three branches of government are. No. And it's very scary to think that these people are in charge. Like, listen, Austin, which is where the capital is, and Texas itself, they've got enough issues. And for all their rhetoric and BS, they're at least not California. Like, they don't govern you to death. Like they're just what they think is important and great. This is very much a white Christian state. Let's just be blunt, right? There's some Jews here, and because we're special, we're like celebrities. When we go, they give us everything for free. So yeah, move to Austin and Dallas. That's great. And I'm kidding. They don't do it in Dallas, only in Austin. Anyway, but right now the governor's going to call the what did you say? But it's interesting. But in California, they just everything they law you to death. You can't do this. You can't do that. In Austin and in Texas in general, it's sort of like, listen, we don't want you to say this, but you can do this. Okay, you can't have an abortion, great, but you can go to the next state next door. So they're as prickish as they are here. They have kind of a clue, and I don't know if they have it or if it's by mistake. We're in the state of New York. It's like the people that are running. It's kind of like I really feel bad for the people in New York. Like if I look at all these races, I'm just like, this is not good. It's not good for the state, not for the people. It won't be good for the country. But nobody seems to care because they're all like, listen, as long as I can live my life, I can go, I've got my mobile phone, I can go do whatever. Nobody cares. And that's the bad thing.
Steve, I want to say this. First of all, it's not Ron DeSantis anymore. It's Ron DeSanctimonious. I'm going to get that right.
I like that right away. There you go.
Ron DeSanctimonious.
What would Arnold say about him? No, go ahead.
That's Tom's new name for him.
Okay.
But you touched on something which is interesting because you mentioned in California how they literally govern people to death. They administer you to death. They legislate you to death. Is that the right word? And I'm thinking, I thought to myself, I've heard this conversation before. It sounds like an echo. Oh, wait, this is partly to do with the UK situation with Brexit. And you go, what's the connection? Well, I'll tell you what the connection is. In both scenarios, sort of. You've got people, perhaps of a conservative leaning in both places, who they're not, I wouldn't say they're Nazis or anything like that, but they're saying, you know what, we're sick and tired. I'm not saying I agree with them, just saying what has been said. We're sick and tired of the government telling me I can't say this. I get my genders wrong. I'm not woke. I'm not this. You've heard this word. And why should I have to be? They want me to change. They're not prepared. It doesn't matter who's right. But it just seems to these folk that there's no compromise coming their way. Dave mentioned they're feeling left out. Yeah, that's part of it. Perhaps they're feeling like the global thing is taking them over. So they're kind of out of the loop. They're a little older. They're not feeling like they're part of the change. And the same thing happened to some extent with Brexit. And they were sold a pile of bullshit. And it seems like perhaps a similar thing is going on in the US where they're tapping into people's fears. Trump did this brilliantly. You can say what you like about the man, but he had a good team, and they said, Don, this is what people are scared about. And he says, right, we got to give them a message that is going to resonate with them, and they're going to say, yes, you don't even have to build a wall. You just have to say you're going to build a wall, and they like it. So you don't actually have to do anything. You just have to imply that you really want to, and it's going to be the best wall ever, and you're good. And I think to some extent, what is playing out there is, and I'm not feeling sorry for these people, but I don't think people are listening to each other. And that is why you have that division. That is why people are voting for people like Carrie Lake and God knows who. I don't think they give a shit about Carrie Lake. They just go, well, she's showing a middle finger to everybody. And we like that about her. Screw the government, screw Joe Biden, whatever. It's not about the issues. It doesn't matter whether the Democrats or Republicans are saying anything wise. It doesn't matter. If a guy stands up and he's like, yeah, I'm going to beat him to a pulp. Yeah, okay. And they like that. That people like that the world over. We got a guy here who does the same thing. I'm not getting into the local politics now. That's for another conversation. But what he says is absolute garbage, but people like his strength. Herschel Walker, Dave, you mentioned him. Herschel Walker yesterday said something along the lines of, I've got some plans, but I'm not going to tell you what they are because the Democrats will say that they came up with it. And
now he stopped because he's been censored by the South African government, ladies and gentlemen. No, his power probably went.
And then people say, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to vote for Herschel Walker because I know he's got a good idea. He's not going to tell us because then the Democrats will steal it. And then I'll vote for him, but I don't know what his plan is. Wasn't he an FBI agent? I mean, yeah, there's no sense. There's no sense. Guys?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Dave.
Well,
whoa.
yeah, I'm here. But Steve
whoa.
Steve
Did we lose Steve? Are you recording?
Yeah, we're still live, and he's the He's the only one with a button.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
So
let's talk about unbelievable circumstance. Oh,
he's
unfortunately,
back.
I'm back.
unfortunately, Stephen's back.
Wow. I feel the love, just so you know.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Unfortunate circumstances.
I
What
know.
you have this what was she? Some sort of minister in the UK, and she was owned up to the fact. Oh, I've been sending all these really top secret emails via my own email account, which is a complete no. And so she said, well, you can't do that. So she resigned because she'd
Yes.
done all those things
Yep.
wrong. And then 6 days later, Richie said, "Oh, it's all right. Well, I forgive you. Come back."
Oh, that's right. The minister of health or secretary. Yeah. That I
Yeah.
knew. Yeah,
And
that's like unbelievable.
yeah, you have to think to yourself, well, if I did that, right? If I was
You go to jail.
yeah, if I
Oh, you
had,
would.
all these things,
Fine.
all the secrets in the company, and I would just sort of sent them off randomly. I'm not saying that anybody did read all this stuff, but there was every opportunity that could happen. So I'd seriously compromised my
You'd be
employer
hell.
and such.
I
Yeah,
got a
I'd lose
question.
I'd lose my job, and I'd say to you after, "Oh, Steve, I'm really sorry, mate. You know,
Oh, it's okay,
bit
Dad.
of
Come back.
bit of a bad hair day. Can
No.
You don't
I
have that
come
much
back?
hair, so you can't have that bad of a hair day. You're like me. That's why I wear a baseball cap. Hey, I got a question to get on just a happier subject for a moment.
Yes,
What do we think
please.
of what do we think of Elon Musk and Twitter?
Oh my God.
Is that another? That's another 2-hour show.
Wow.
That's another
Wow.
2-hour show. Yeah.
That
We may,
is
we may throw that in. We may have to put the teaser now. So
Yeah.
I
okay.
just thought
Well,
that was fascinating.
okay. Well, so obviously he's from this part of the world, which is quite interesting.
That's why I asked.
And I will say this. I can't speak for everybody here, but certainly a lot of people, and I've mentioned his name on 1 or 2 occasions on my show, and I've even made some jokes at his expense because I don't know what that accent is. But anyway, that's another story. What the hell that is? It changes day by day. It's like Charlie's. I'm sorry. Theron, who's Tron, actually, that's a real name, who's got a fake accent. Anyway, that's another story. What I'm saying is, Elon.
Says the voiceover guy who's got a fake accent.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
He's done well. I'll give him that.
He's done well. Yeah.
He's done all right. The boy's done great.
Yeah.
There are some questionable ways he got there, which I'm not going to get into.
Ponzi scheme called Tesla.
There's more to the father-son thing than I think people know.
Tell us about that. I don't know about the father-son thing.
Did you watch the BBC documentary about him, Roald? Has that been on the on TV yet?
I haven't. I'd like to see.
It was like a 4-part series on the BBC.
Yeah. I'd like to see a documentary made by people here about him. Then I'll watch it.
Because it was interesting because his father was on it, of course, and his mother, and
But
he has a mother and father. Okay, good.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Mae Musk, she's a dynamite woman. Good Lord.
Really?
No, really. No, you want to know why Elon Musk is the way he is? Look at his mom. He's a mummy's boy through and through, which is not a bad thing.
Is she like a tiger mom?
Oh, she is. She's tough.
Yeah.
Cool. She's a Canadian with a very thick South African accent. It's very strange. But he is. People think he's a little bit of a joke. Yeah, he is. And because I'll tell you why. My problem with him is he learned everything that he knows here. He grew up here. He learned everything here. Was it a perfect upbringing? Who has one of those? I can point to things in my childhood that I didn't like. I had to serve in a military that I didn't want to be in. It was either that or head back to some questionable family in the UK. And I said, I'd rather stay in Africa. Thank you. So we go through things.
We were so glad you made that choice.
I am actually. But
I'm still traumatized by my childhood. I stopped to tell the doctor where I was touched.
Right.
So.
Well, there you go. But what concerns me is I'm not saying he has to do anything to help out here, do anything. Right. But he doesn't need to be trashing his country. He doesn't need to be doing that.
I didn't know he did that.
He's done that a few times, and has
he got a green card? Do you think?
Has Elon Musk got a green card? Are you kidding?
He's
a citizen. What do you mean he's a citizen?
Is he a US citizen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know Donald Trump was, he thought he was the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah. But
Donnie
what
thought
bothers me,
what's his face? West was Kanye West was the best thing since sliced bread as well. So we see how that's ending up for Kanye right now.
wow,
Yeah.
With
exactly.
his
No, Steve, Yee.
Yeah.
He's now just Yee. And
Yeah,
pretty
I
soon
got
he'll
you,
just
Yee.
be Yee, and then he'll
I got
be.
you, Yee. I got you, Yee, right here, pal.
Yeah.
As they say where I come from.
Yeah,
You're little with your anti-Semitic bullshit.
Oh,
You know, like this guy, and then somebody said he's a fan of Hitler. I'm like, dude, you should just be quiet and go away.
he just thinks it's some rap
doesn't
band.
know
I
what
think.
he's doing. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But the
No,
problem is,
he's
so many
been
people listen
diagnosed
to
as
him.
bipolar.
Why?
Yeah. But you know what?
So-
Enough with the excuses. If it doesn't matter, you got meds, you got money, get on the meds. Get some. I mean, that's all
Yeah, I
bullshit to me.
know.
Everyone has an excuse. Why some guy shoots up 50 people. Like you said, I had a bad hair day. Really? Oh, it's okay. Go home. It's fine. No. We have to start saying to people, you have to be held accountable for things.
Oh,
And then
absolutely.
at least the
Okay,
brands that he was tied with did that. So I'm happy
Well,
about that. But
So let's be accountable to the question that you posed about 1.5 million years ago, was Twitter and Elon Musk.
yes.
Yeah, why not? Why not? He says
Okay.
he wants it to turn it into the ultimate one app, the app that'll do
He
everything.
wants to make it a town square, which I disagree with. I
So,
don't think that's my town square. My town square is a town square. That's a global square for people. Usually, and a lot of brands I just read in the Financial Times are actually pulling their advertising dollars because they want to see what's going to happen. I don't need a town square that way. A town square, if you want to say something, I want to see you. If you want to, if you have a problem,
was Twitter any better before he bought it? I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't
It's
think
just
it's anything.
just
Okay, let me
full of
answer.
hate,
Let me
full of
answer
hate
this.
and opinions.
Yeah.
It's
The problem,
very few facts.
the problem with Twitter is in principle, and I'm just going to talk a lot of bunkum here. In principle, it's a good idea. Yes,
Right.
you want to say something, that's fine. The bad thing is it's online, so you can literally be anybody. So
Correct.
as Steve said, there is no town square. If Twitter could be a live situation where you could stand in front of the people and say it, fine, that's okay.
That's
the
called
problem
TikTok.
It's this anonymous bashing and trolling thing. And when he said, I'm just going to open it up and do whatever, I thought, all right, let's see where this goes. He's all about free speech. All right. The next thing, you've got companies pulling commercial advertising because they're concerned that their brand is going to be linked to all that free speech that he's talking about. And the next thing he says, well, I'm going to name and shame you. Well, that's not really free speech then, is it?
Correct.
So
well,
what do you-
technically,
do you
technically
want
that is free
or
speech.
don't?
That is
Which
free
is
speech
it?
because you can name and shame, but then
Yeah, but
I get to
which
do
is
the
it?
same thing. But that's my
Yeah.
point. It's not my town. It's not my town square. My town square. If you want to have a Zoom call with 50 million people, that's a town square. If you
Yeah.
want to do this with people like we do, town square. I
Right.
don't think a town square is where I get to tweet something because I have the balls to say it this way. And that's where my
Yeah.
problem is like all these people like, I got balls. You got no fucking balls. You want balls? You let them see your face, let them hear your comment, and then whatever shit flows back,
them.
you take
Face
it like a man, whether
Yeah,
you're a
face
woman or not. And I'm sorry to the lesbians and the LGBTQ for this. We're just man is covering everything. But this is it, except the dykes in Holland. They're very nice. Anyway, and that's it.
Well,
And I don't.
they keep us dry, Stephen.
I can tell you, I got my fingers in many of them. But anyway, I think it's
think
just
it'll
one of those
thrive?
things. Yeah, I hope so. So I don't
No,
know.
do you think-
I don't know
do
if
you think
Twitter
it'll
will survive. I don't know if Twitter will survive. I think what's happening is there was another article in the FT or the Economist that was talking about TikTok. So TikTok now, there's a big article this morning about how they're revamping their management because they're losing advertising dollars. But then Instagram is as well, and so is Twitter. I don't think Elon's saving Twitter yet. I mean, he's got his other little Ponzi scheme called Tesla he's working with. So, but I'm trying to figure out like where you go and what you do. And the other problem is now the attention span of everybody on the planet. I don't care if you're 14 or 114 or a number in between, is literally 2 seconds. So everything is too long. So, it's interesting. Like if we look at the stats on our podcast or our stats on our YouTube, we'll see where like people will listen, then they jump, then they listen, then they jump, then they listen. And then you'll get like 30% that listen at A through Z. And I'm like, oh,
Right.
okay. And the other 70 are all over the place. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
all right, because they're trying to find something and we don't tag what we're saying. So you either have to listen or you don't.
Yeah.
And I think that's another issue. It's that people, they don't have the wherewithal, like reading a book. Like I say, like to people, I read a couple books a week, and I'm like, what'd you read last? And they just look at you like the RC, like read a book. How about read a paper? They don't have the time.
Well,
You don't have the time. You don't have 30 minutes to sit and read something. That's bad, and that's the problem. And that goes back to
Well,
the very beginning.
These are all people are just obsessed with tidbits. You know, I'll read a little bit of this, a little bit of
Oh,
that.
yeah, but
I got a
that
bigger
doesn't help
question.
you.
I got a big question. I don't even know why he even got into Twitter. I have no idea. I look at it and I think, well, Tesla is as questionable as it is. The boring
Right.
company, the whatever, SpaceX, you can go,
Yeah.
all right, fine. But what the hell was he thinking, even wading into that? What does he know about it? Where's the upside? What is
Well,
the plus?
the conspiracy
Why would
theorists,
you do that? Why would
theorists
he buying
among
a
us
Tupperware company? What the hell?
says that you're going to need some form of ultimate app which you can run all your life on when we all move to Mars, because
I beg your pardon?
Wait,
Is that
we're
what he
moving
said?
to
Yeah.
Mars? I didn't know we were moving to
Yeah.
Mars. I got to pack.
Yeah.
I got to figure out what to wear.
Yeah.
No one tells
If
me
you-
shit.
If you think about it, you know, there's going to be electric vehicles. There's most of which are going to be traveling underground. Hence the reason why he bought the Boring Company.
All right.
So everything will be put underground on Mars, because that's his ultimate dream, that we all will go there and we'll be able to we'll have the ultimate app among us, which will control all our lives.
What's the page number in Mein Kampf where it all goes tits up, Steve? What page number?
451. I'm like around
Roughly.
450, 450, 451. It literally says it's like infrastructure roads, and then you go to 451, and it starts off with, and then you kill the Jews. And I'm like, yeah,
Right.
that's not a good
Well,
page.
I think in an analogous way, I think maybe Elon is turning the page to page 451. I think he's done fine now. Now he's getting stupid. That's just my take. But what do I know? I'm not worth $300 billion. So, you know.
Neither is he. So you're fine. So. Neither is he, my friend. I mean, maybe in South African funny money he is, but in real money, not so much. So
yeah, no, it's silly. It's silly. I just wish he would come and do something here. I don't know what. I think if I had a spare couple of billion for the country that taught me everything I know, I think that would be a good thing. He doesn't have to, obviously, and he can say what he likes about the place. But one thing I will say is why a lot of people are here, and it's not just expats that have come back or whatever. Strangely enough, Steve, there are a lot of Americans in this country, which is interesting. I find very interesting. Is they see something here, but it definitely needs some help. I will say that, some proper help. We've had a discussion about how they don't do things properly. Fine. It is a young country and we can throw all kinds of mud at it, but it's got some good things going for it, not the least, which is the climate. And I just wish that dumbass, he's 50 odd plus now, Elon, just come and take a year or two and come back here and enjoy the place and do something good with your life for a change. He won't, obviously, because he's trying to get to Mars, but just a thought.
Isn't it closer to
South Africa,
closer to Mars? I mean,
go now.
Well, I'll come. I'll pay my ticket. I'll come to South Africa. I'll come and help you change the world.
You know what a Dutch guy said to me, David? This is a true story. I'm not making this up. I make some things up, but not this one. I was at a coffee shop about 8 months ago, and there was a guy from.
You know what that means? Something completely different in Dutch at a coffee shop.
What does it mean?
That's where they do the cannabis and joints and
Yeah,
heroin and coke. That's where you buy your drugs.
It's legal here now too. It's legal here now too. So maybe I'll see him. Maybe I'll see him at the coffee shop again.
Anyway, go at the coffee shop.
He said to me, and I do this. It's a thing. I strike up conversations with people. I know it's weird for some, but I do. And I heard him speaking. He heard me speaking. We chatted. Blah blah blah. Sat down at his table, and he said, He said, you know, one of the reasons I'm here. And I said, no, because there's so many people that are leaving. And he said, I'll tell you why I'm here. This is weird. He said, this gentleman who's just helped me now, he's an African gentleman. He said, this chap here, and he pointed to him and says, hello, chappie. That's his name. He says, this guy here, I've just met him. He said, and this guy's my friend now. He's a proper friend. I can come tomorrow. He'll talk to me. We get on. I treat him with respect. He treats me with respect, but he will be decent to me. He'll be nice to me. He will be. And he said, and I've encountered that the ordinary people here. He said, I've encountered it wherever I've gone. He says, yeah, the potholes and the infrastructures, whatever it is, it's a third world. But he said, I'm staying here now because he says, I don't get that anywhere else on the planet. Now, maybe that's just him, but there is some truth to that. The ordinary person here, when he's not all political and being tainted by BS, and I'm talking about the African people, they are very nice people. And it's true. There is someone was saying that in a lot of countries, I love Norway. It's beautiful. I've never lived there really, but they say it's much more difficult to get into a community if you're an outsider. If you come here, he says, I've been here a month or two. He said, I'm in this community. I know these people. He said, it's so easy to socialize with people. I don't know if that's a reason to move to a country, but it doesn't hurt.
Hey, listen, any place you can socialize is not a bad place.
Yeah.
So you know what we should do, and everybody that's listening or watching, depending on where it's down below here somewhere.
Yep.
There's all the links. We should probably do one of these as a live show so people could actually give us comments while we're talking.
That'd be great. I'd love that.
All right, we're gonna start.
Yep.
We're gonna
Yep.
we're gonna
should do
sign
that.
off shortly, and then we're gonna start promoting the next time Mr. Woods is with us. Will be a live show.
Good.
Across the globe. It'll be
Like
Mr.
my
Woods'
radio
live
show.
event. Like
Like my radio shows, yes.
But in this one, you can say bad words if you choose to. Which is it'll be live on. It'll be live on Facebook. It'll be live on YouTube.
Until they ban you, Stephen. Anyway.
Well, we've been banned from. Did we tell you we finally got kicked off of LinkedIn? It was hysterical. Two Old Farts is no longer on LinkedIn because we got kicked off.
Why?
Yeah, because one of our favorite artists I would post his art and I would write comments and stuff on it, and apparently I used the word buttocks, and LinkedIn did not like the word buttocks, and so they said, "Two Old Farts, you cannot be on our platform anymore."
Seemed it was my assumption, and we know what assumptions are. But it's only because it's the only thing that you had written that was different to the stuff that you'd posted before.
Yeah, I wrote buttocks and I got an email that
said buttocks.
But I spelled buttocks out, and I said it's a cubist. He was doing cubed art, and it was called Cubist Buttocks. And I was like, it's beautiful, and that's what it was, and that's the title.
BUTTOCKS.
Yeah, and I've read other people
different to the bollocks,
fucking shit and cunt and everything else on LinkedIn. I was like, buttocks is the cleanest thing, right? No big deal.
Not even a bad word.
The next day, I get something that says we'll need all the government IDs to make sure you're all real people. Yada. And I was like, seriously? I said, what? And so our hypothesis, we got thrown up for the word buttocks and posting Connor's art. So now we're on Twitter and we're on TikTok. And of course, YouTube, and I think David has us on Facebook. So when we do a live show, we'll live stream all those places except LinkedIn. And as LinkedIn, with all due respect to them, can suck my cock. And then that's it. So all the Two Old Fart fans that were on LinkedIn a couple days before, we had gone into TikTok, and they were like, "Hey, we're going to follow you to TikTok." So now we have them on TikTok, and we have them over here, of course, on YouTube. But it was very funny that we got kicked off of LinkedIn because we used the word buttocks.
It's the most prim and proper thing. It's like an old-fashioned way of saying your ass.
I know. Well, LinkedIn, they're a bunch of prima donna pussies. So yeah.
Microsoft.
That's what happens. So the next show with you should be live. Then do you like that idea?
That's perfect.
Yeah,
I want to ask something when we've done with this one, by the way. But okay, that's great.
All right, so kids. We've been here an hour and 15 minutes. I'm sure our audience that's been driving in cars has nodded off and slammed into several trees. So hopefully there'll be no lawsuits. So before we leave,
to the end.
Thank you for listening to the end. Would you like to say anything as anybody other than yourself before we leave, Mr. Woods? You made such a great introduction to the show in the beginning.
Yes, everyone. Well, please listen to our show next time. It makes the gentlemen feel very important. And it's the way they get their jollies out. So do join us. Thank you.
There you go. Guys, always a pleasure. Everybody, thank you for listening. We'll see you soon. Cheers.
Bye.